morning, and I'm going to have Brent introduce our speaker, and let me get ready for him too. He has something for me to do here. Okay, go ahead, Brent.
Are you ready? All right. So our guest speakers today, and I said speakers because we have two guest speakers all the way from my hometown of Grand Forks, North Dakota, where it is currently at least 15 degrees below zero, but that won't slow either of them down. We have Marilyn Hagerty, who is just happens to be 94 years young, and I'm not afraid to say that because it's posted all over the internet. She and past South Forks Lions president and Melvin Jones recipient Judge Joel Med today. Marilyn's career in newspapering began in the 1940s when she was a high school student in Pierre, South Dakota. She currently writes 5 columns for the Grand Forks Herald and doesn't look like she's slowing down anytime soon. She became an overnight sensation among both critics and admirers when she wrote an Olive Garden review that went, quote, viral. Her book, Grand Forks, A History of American Dining in 128 Reviews, was collaborated with the late Anthony Bourdain, if I'm saying that right. And it's an easy read and just makes you feel good. Past South Forks Lions president and Melvin Jones recipient Judge Joel Med has an extensive career and a great volunteer record with the Lions and many other great causes in that area of the country, and would use up all their presentation time if I went into much more detail, and I'll leave it at that. Marilyn and Joel, we are going to play a quick YouTube video of one of Marilyn's restaurant reviews, and then we'll turn it over to the two of you, and you can take it from there. So Mark, looks like you're ready to roll the video, and then if everyone could mute, we'd appreciate it.
New York's hottest new restaurants. It's called Crown. It's owned by famed chef John Delucci. Here's what happened when we sent you there for lunch yesterday.
Hi there, welcome to Crown.
The restaurants I cover are not quite this chic. I'm excited. Oh, the prices, scallops, they're $36. It isn't very often I would pay $50 for lunch. I buy my groceries for $50.
You having the beef salad and the scallops?
Yes, please. What kind of bread will be served? You don't have any of those bagels like they do at the Olive Garden?
We don't know.
Oh, you don't do those. Well, is your bread warm like it is at the Olive Garden? Good thing I don't have false teeth.
Right now at my restaurant, I have a
You want to move just a little bit. We're trying to center you in the picture there.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
You know, critics, you know how they are. It can be really tough.
I do get excited about some things, but not salad. But I like it.
We have gorgeous scallops from Maine.
Oh my goodness. It's more like Thanksgiving and Christmas all put together in one plate.
It was a pleasure to cook for you.
I did, and if you ever come to Grand Forks, I'll take you to the Olive Garden.
All right, Marilyn, you can take it from there.
Oh, well, I guess I don't know. I can tell you where it started. When I was in high school and I needed a job, I worked for the Capital Journal at Pierre, South Dakota. And I think we had 3 restaurants on the main part of town. And Miller's Cafe was really, by our standards then, very nice. So I didn't go there very often. But the publisher of the Pierre Capital Journal went there. I went around the corner to Pete's Place, and Pete's Place was good for those times because you could get a hamburger for 15 cents. And they were good hamburgers. And I didn't go to the Liberty because lots of people went to the Liberty. And then I got a job working in a restaurant. And I worked for the St. Charles Hotel Cafe in Pierre, South Dakota. All this is background because by some trick of nature, I finished my degree in journalism at the University of South Dakota. Now, if you grew up in South Dakota, you don't really know much about North Dakota because it's never land. And little did I know that after 4 years in Minneapolis, I would spend my life in Grand Forks, North Dakota. My husband called me and told me that he had come up here for an interview and he had been offered the job as editor of the Grand Forks Herald. And he called me in the middle of night. And I said, why don't you just sober up and call me in the morning and tell me if the man at the Herald, the owner, says the same thing as he did during your evening out. So Jack called me the next morning and he said, he says the same thing sober as he does when he's drunk. Wow, we're going to Grand Forks, North Dakota. And up we came in our car and our 3 little children. And I really wasn't excited about Grand Forks, North Dakota, but I can tell you now that after 40, 50 years in this place, I love it. I wouldn't trade it for any place, my friends, the people, the whole town. Anyway, I used to go to national meetings of food editors. There I would meet the food editor of the New York Times and the food editor of the Minneapolis Tribune, but she was pretty human, and San Francisco. I met all those people and I sat back in my chair and I thought, why couldn't we have reviews of restaurants in Grand Forks, North Dakota? So I started writing reviews, and they were my idea of reviews, I guess. And I was getting some static from professors at the University of North Dakota. To them, my reviews didn't quite seem like what a restaurant review should be. But after all, you know, when we have places like, well, not like New York City, but they're pretty nice. We had Whitey's in East Grand Forks, and we had some pretty cool places that I thought. And one day the publisher, who was then Mike Maidenberg, and he lives in California now, but he came out to my desk and he said, Marilyn, I don't care what they say. I like your reviews. And it was because of Mike Maidenberg that I had the courage to keep going out to little restaurants all around this area and telling the whole world about them. And next thing I knew, I ended up, when I wrote my review about the Olive Garden coming to Grand Forks, that somehow it took hold. I came home from a bridge club that day, and there were something like 1 million replies on the computer about the Olive Garden review in the Grand Forks Herald. And next thing you know, I was in New York, and I was on those shows that I had only seen from a distance. And I made a couple of trips back there, and Anderson Cooper was one of the people that invited me back to his show, not once, but twice. And he had a group send me down to Florida and visit an Olive Garden down there. And it was just one thing after another. And then life sort of settled down again. But it has been interesting. A reporter from the New York Times wanted to tell my story, so he told it in a flattering way than I could ever imagine. And so I enjoyed a little taste of the past. I don't know, Joe Ahmed is here. He's one of the people who lives in Grand Forks, but he doesn't eat a lot. You know, judges don't eat a lot. They just kind of make rulings, I think. But, and he isn't into food, but he's into a good life here in Grand Forks, and he's a member of the Lions Club. The club meets at, I think, some ungodly hour, like 7 a.m. It's on Tuesdays, I believe. And once or twice I have gone to the Lions Club meetings, and they are a jolly group. They, I don't know how they can be so cheery, as I notice you are in Sacramento. Beyond that, I don't know quite what to say, but maybe you'd like to hear from Joe about the Lions Club. They are a leading club here in Grand Forks.
Yeah, maybe let me shift this a little bit if you can see me. I should tell you a little bit more actually about Marilyn. She's very shy about telling you. Her column is the most read column in the newspaper. She picks the cheerful person of the week, and it's a kind of a coveted distinction to being named cheerful person of the week. Sometimes she'll even toy with it. She'll say, you know, I was going to name Dick Olson, but he wasn't quite cheerful enough. So she does a great job of that. She does the Eat Beat column. She promotes UND sports. She talks about history in Grand Forks. And one of the things that she's really good at, she promotes service clubs. You know, our Lions Club does things like we just got done running Christmas in the Park. We ran through about 6,000 cars that went through Christmas in the Park at $6 each. We raised about $34,000 gross. She's one of the reasons we got so many people coming through our Christmas in the Park, because she publicizes it in her column. So she does a lot of great things for the community. She's a real booster for the city of Grand Forks. I could say a few words about our club. I mentioned Christmas in the Park, which we just got done running. That's a lot of work since I'm retired. I don't know, I probably put in about 80 hours of work putting up displays, taking down displays. In the winter, we also do a fun night, a dinner. We haven't been able to do that, and we're thinking about how to redo that. We're going to run a spring golf tournament in honor of two of our members that are recently deceased, and we're working on that. And we might pick your brain some. I like a lot of the ideas that you're doing. We do donate about $16,000 to $20,000 to charities. Any school kid in Grand Forks that needs glasses, they can go to the social worker. The social worker goes to the Lions Club, and we provide glasses to any kids in Grand Forks that need glasses. We partner with one of the schools, and we provide after-school lunches and snacks. Some of the interesting things I picked up from your club, just what you're doing now. You can have speakers from anywhere around the country, and we haven't done that yet. And I think we're going to give that a try. And also even visitation. I mean, our club, if we got 3 of our people on Zoom, we could have a club visitation with you, or you could have a club visitation with us. And I've invited Brent to maybe do that, maybe sit in our club meeting. As I say, we meet every Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock. We have about 60 members in our club. With Zoom, we only get about 27 on Zoom, but it's worked out, you know, pretty well. We have people on vacation down there in Arizona, in Florida, and they're able to get on Zoom. So that's a little bit about what I have to add. I'm glad we could get Marilyn on Zoom, and I think it's going to open up a whole new area for her. She's going to be able to join Zoom for all sorts of new clubs and organizations and write new columns about stuff. So she's getting up to speed on technology, and so that's good. So that's about as much as I have to say, and I should bring you back to Marilyn, who's the real star of the program here.
Just for notes, Judge, would you please share your Zoom with Brent so he can send it to me? And I get up at 5 in the morning. I love to stop by, and maybe I get about 3 other members here to join me, and then we can get a visitation. But I love the idea about the visitation. I definitely should get out on visitations, because we got a lot of people who like to have their face shown all over the world here.
So that would be super. I will definitely get it to Brent, and then you can let me know if you're going to Zoom, and maybe I could even get an email with your name so I wouldn't massacre your names when I introduce you. And we'd love to have you sit in on a meeting.
Absolutely. Anything more, Marilyn?
Well, I don't really have a lot of other things to say. I just want you to know that newspapers may be floundering in this world of technology, but newspapers aren't going to go away because, what else would you use to put by the kitchen door when the kids come in? What else would you use for wrapping garbage when you put it in the box? But newspapers, yeah, they're good for that too. And every once in a while, people even read them. If I had my way, we'd still have the newspaper, and the kids would be out on the street delivering it. But like everything else, times have changed and we're moving on. But news is news. You want to know what people are doing. You want to know what people are eating. And so you want to know who won the basketball game last night over at Red River High School, and you can get all of that in your newspaper. And the newspaper is just coming out in different ways too. It's been a great ride. I started out with taking notes in shorthand and running them home and putting them on paper with my typewriter, and now I have this newfangled computer here, which I asked the good judge to come over and help me set it up. I've never been in court before Judge Med, and I'm glad that I never ended up that way, but I've had the pleasure of knowing him through organizations such as the Lions Club. It's really fun to see people in California. I have relatives in Sacramento and have visited Sacramento. And I sort of envy you today because you live out there, but I wouldn't trade it. I like it.
Was there any questions out there for Marilyn? Anybody like to find out a little bit more? Yes, Mark Crowd, unmute yourself before you talk.
People don't want me to do it normally. Okay, I was going to ask you. So, what was your review of Olive Garden? Do you like the Olive Garden? I go there a lot. Well,
I just kind of reviewed the Olive Garden as being a new place. It was an attractive place. I didn't get enough olives, and so they were very willing to bring me more olives, and that was before I even wrote about them. Now, when I go to the Olive Garden, I'm treated very well, but I don't take any favors. I have to pay for everything I eat, and I just enjoy being there, but I criticize whatever little things they do wrong, because I think it makes it more interesting if I can find something wrong with a place than everything being all right.
Okay. I tell everybody, if you take a look at one of those videos which does a comparison between the Olive Garden and the Red Lobster, that was really pretty funny. I had a chance to look at some of those videos. That was a good
question for you.
Joe.
Yeah, Marilyn, you mentioned a restaurant that used to serve hamburgers for 15 cents a piece. Are they still in business?
Well, unfortunately, I have not seen a 15-cent hamburger and no, they are not still in business. As a matter of fact, this is really a tough time for restaurants, and I go to some restaurants. In fact, I'm going to go to one with Joel and his wife, Amy, after we finish this, whatever we're doing this morning. And it's still with care. And if you do it.
All right. Coffee's on.
Hi.
All right.
What?
Okay. Just continue. Somebody's talking above you there.
Oh, okay.
We can see you. We can see you.
Okay.
Sean, you want to put yours on silent, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Marilyn.
So yeah, I go to the Olive Garden. It's still open, and for some reason, the New York Times decided to write a history of my writings a couple of weeks ago, and they sent photographers up from Fargo. Now, mind you, they didn't use photographers from Grand Forks. They got photographers from Fargo. And so among the other things they wanted me to do was to go to the Olive Garden and pick up a meal. So I drove over there and they photographed me getting out of my car and picking up my meal. And so I took my meal home, and the photographer and his assistant were hungry, but I only had one meal. So we sat in the kitchen, the three of us, and sort of picked away at the one meal. And it was not any photo that the New York Times probably would want to run. So they used other pictures of me. And it was most flattering that they would kind of sum up my career with starting at the Olive Garden and ending at the Olive Garden. And yes, there are many other restaurants here, but and there are many that have been here over the years. And if you ever go to a gathering and you want to start a good conversation, just name one of the restaurants in your area or one that you like, and people enjoy talking about the restaurants. And there are different things that people value in a restaurant experience. People aren't all looking for the same things. Like they like the ambiance, and I know how to spell that. And some, they like the servers. It isn't always just the food, but I've been to area restaurants, and the cook might be the only person in the kitchen, and they have one person serving, and everybody's happy, and everybody knows everybody else. It's so in small towns around this area, it's the fellowship and the friendship that they find when they go to get a hamburger or a roast beef and mashed potatoes. It's
maybe I was going to mention, I'm looking at the things in her office here. Some of the humorous things. Marilyn's so famous, they actually named one of the sewage lift stations after her. So there's a Marilyn Hagerty lift station, which I'm looking at, and they had a big grand opening, and she arrived on a motorcycle
with the mayor.
So had a great opening. I'm seeing they have a hawk. We have one of the Peregrine Falcon hawks that is named after her. So she's a very beloved person here in Grand Forks.
Definitely. Any other questions? And Darren?
Yeah, this is actually, is it Joel? Is it Joel?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
I was wondering if you could just kind of give us a quick description of that Christmas in the Park fundraiser. It sounded like it was very successful.
Okay. Well, we had a big flood in '97, and it wiped out a whole neighborhood and so there's streets and trees going through a big park area. So we have about 60 displays that businesses put up. We rent out places for about $300 a space, and a business, let's say Valandry Electric or Como Electric or Op Construction, had a great big dump truck that was completely covered with lights. And we put up some of our own displays, and businesses put up displays. And then we have a ticket booth, and people pay. We run it from Thanksgiving through New Year's. We staff it every night with 2 people there, and people drive through and they pay $6 to go through. And buses, limousines are like $10, and a bus is $20. And we have fun with it. People bring their dogs through. We're giving dog treats. We're giving out candy canes as people come through. So we raised, as I said, this was our most successful year. We had exactly, I got the number, we had exactly 5,936 cars and $34,000 gross.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions here? No, it looks pretty good. Well, I want to thank you both for coming this morning. We are very honored and looking forward to seeing you again. And maybe when I come, you'll be at the other Lions meeting with the judge that morning, and that'll be fantastic. I appreciate everyone who showed this morning. And if you'd like to stay on and